quite an impact, actually, when he sank that 3-iron and hit me in the back of the head.
I can't believe I'm into this. I really hate to lose. Asking forgiveness. Got the struggler's blues. The struggler's blues.
We're back. The Golf Insiders. On the eve of the President's Cup, and lots of attention now on the international team. Of course, the Americans have not lost in these matches since 1998, and the last 4 have not been particularly close. However, a pretty strong squad led by Jason Day, and interestingly, 3 South Africans on the team, and I'm happy to welcome a very good friend of mine calling in from South Africa, Mike Quinn, who is a teaching professional as well as a former member of the Sunshine Tour in South Africa and the managing director of Swingclick, one of the hottest swing training devices in golf currently. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Holly.
So give us a little insight to, we followed Ernie Els for a number of years. Of course, Gary Player having been the grand ambassador for South African golf for a long time. Retief Goosen, 2-time U.S. Open champion. What is it about South Africa and their program that has produced such great players and major champions?
Well, Holly, I think first of all, the examples that the current players and our future players have, I think that's a major part of it. I mean, obviously, a lot of people followed in Gary's footsteps, and Ernie and Retief, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of youngsters coming through. Also, obviously, our weather plays a huge factor where we can play golf, 365 days a year on great golf courses. So I think those are all rather large contributing factors.
And you have a great tour in the Sunshine Tour in terms of, the PGA pros there, sort of fine-tuning their game and before, making the transition to the PGA Tour.
100% correct. Very, very competitive tour. Got to shoot really good scores over tough golf courses. Really, really tough tour.
So tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the South Africans rounding out this team. Of course, we have Louis Oosthuizen, who was the 2010 Open Championship winner. Charles Schwartzel, who was the 2011 Masters champion. And a guy who's really come on strong, and we've seen a lot of this year knocking on the door, Brandon Grace, probably not as familiar to a lot of Americans, but tell us a little bit about each of these guys.
Well, Brandon Grace, we hope, obviously becomes a lot more familiar to the Americans. Obviously he backs himself as a hell of a golfer. He comes from the same part of the world we live in here now. It's a coastal area. Also grown up on very difficult golf courses. Extremely hard worker on his game. Charles Schwartzel, unfortunately, he's got a cold, so he won't be starting tomorrow. Louis is clearly one of the most talented golfers in the world. We're expecting a lot from all 3 of them. We're really hoping they're going to rack up the points for the international side.
Now, Louis had to withdraw from the Tour Championship due to, I believe, was it a pulled calf muscle? Any update on him?
I haven't been able to find anything. I was under the impression it was a hamstring. There's still quite a bit of discussion as to how you actually pull a hamstring as a professional golfer, but I'm sure there must be a way.
Well, maybe he was doing a little extra workout or something. But,
absolutely.
Louis has had a great year, came so close again in the Open Championship. Something about the British Open he really likes. Is it, do you play a lot of links-style golf over in South Africa?
Well, certainly. Also, Louis grew up in a place called Mossel Bay. He would have been very familiar with the links. And very familiar with the coastal golf courses here. The links is very much a links style golf course, a lot of wind, hard conditions, and so he's probably very, very comfortable in it.
Well, we know that match play is very, very different in terms of competition, gamesmanship, and also strategy than what we're used to seeing week in, week out in the players on the PGA Tour. Do you think this benefits, you would think it would benefit the international squad, but why is it that the Americans have been so strong in the President's Cup and have not had that similar success in the Ryder Cup?
I certainly think in the President's Cup, the Ryder Cup has helped the Americans in the President's Cup in terms of the guys get to play foursomes in the Ryder Cup, whereas a lot of the international players don't really get that familiar with the format. So it really gives the Americans a leg up in the beginning. And I think if you go back in the history of the event, you'll see that often the Americans have got off to fast starts and dominated the foursomes. I think that's a huge contributing factor to it.
And in terms go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I think this year is going to be a lot closer than it has been in previous years. I think, sure, I'm sitting looking at these teams here, and I'm looking at the pairings, and I think it's really going to be close this year.
Also, I think there's much hyped up, renewed interest in the President's Cup just because of the global nature of the game. Certainly with, Jason Day having such a spectacular year, coming so close to Jordan Spieth and winning his own first major. And then, Adam Scott, of course, and you have Hideki Matsuyama, who is just looking like he's going to be a superstar along with Danny Lee. So I think we have on the whole much better, we've seen these players more often. We know their games, there's more interest, and it just reflects how golf has become such a global game.
Well, absolutely. I was saying to somebody today that I think you'd find it very difficult to find somebody that's going to root against Jordan Spieth or Dustin Johnson or Zach Johnson, for that matter, even though they're playing overseas. I think the PGA Tour has done an unbelievable job, and the players just produced an unbelievable year. It's just been action-packed from start to finish. And, all of these players now get to play against each other, and it's just a wonderful format.
If you're an American wanting to come over and play golf in South Africa, obviously so much to see. What do you suggest, and what's the best way to book a trip to South Africa?
Holly, it's so. You could start at Sun City, which you guys would know from the Nedbank $1 Million, which is basically referred to as our African major. There's Leopard Creek, which is an unbelievable golf course in the Kruger National Park, which is Johan Rupert's golf course. Then you've got to come south to Cape Town. There are fantastic golf courses. There's Ernie Els's golf course. There's the Links. There's Fan Court. Just the variation is unbelievable. The quality of the golf courses. I've obviously been to America, and the quality of the golf courses are the same, there and here. It's just an unbelievable place to play golf.
It sure sounds like it, and so many things you could mix into a golf adventure over in South Africa. We think of going to Ireland and Scotland as something on our bucket list, but I think I'd like to put South Africa on that list as well.
Well, if you consider that, I think it costs you virtually nothing to come here. I think it's 14-1 at the moment, or 13-1 at the moment. So you'll play some of the best golf courses. You'll definitely eat some of the best food in the world. And honestly, it's and you get to see the Big Five. That's unmatched in the world.
And drink some good wine, I imagine, as well.
Absolutely. We've got some of the best wine in the world. Ask David Frost.
That's right, and Ernie Els too. He's got his brand, and
absolutely.
I think every player on the planet now has some sort of wine, and it probably takes care of a lot of late nights after lost rounds. Don't you imagine?
Absolutely.
Mike, before I let you go, we appreciate your time. Tell our listeners briefly about the Swingclick and where they can go purchase one. This training device is something else.
Well, thanks, Holly. I mean, it's just growing on a daily basis, and we're seeing people. We're getting reviews. It's just unbelievable. It's available on Amazon at the moment. We are not far away from retail in America. I mean, it's obviously a rhythm and timing device. Guys can go to Amazon. They can go to our website. They can go to swingclick.com, and we can go from there.
And I know Gary Gilchrist, teaching professional here in Orlando and a fellow South African, says this is one of the greatest training devices he has ever worked with. So we definitely appreciate Swingclick support of the Golf Insiders, and also your time to give us a little inside scoop on the international squad. Thanks, Mike Quinn from Swingclick. You're listening to the Golf Insiders. Stay with us. Much more President's Cup coming up.